I sort of resent people who give stereotypes to mediums. I do comic books, yes. People go, oh, comic books, that must like Archie and Superman, must be for kids. No. I do toys. Oh, toys, I had Barbies when I was a kid. You must sell them to kids. No. You know, I do animation. Oh, Saturday morning cartoons. You haven't watched Spawn then yet, have you? No. It's just a medium. When I was a little kid, you know, I used to watch TV, and there'd be Walt Disney introducing his next cartoon. It was the man. And so I would sit there, and to me, as a young child, it was like, wow, there's a real person who actually draws those cartoons or created them or oversees it, and he's there, so there is Walt Disney exists. And I always thought that it was important that, you know, I mean, Ted Turner named a lot of his stuff after him, you know, Trump to some degree. And again, I'm not saying that I'm ever going to get that big. I don't want to get that big. I'm just saying that you become a little bit of a brand, and then people know what you stand for. So for Disney, it was like, you know, good family quality product. For me, it's like, you know, highly detailed, cool, wicked stuff. And wicked can apply to a lot of genres too. That you just go, wow, if McFarlane's touching it, then we know that he's going to be trying to take it to the next level. Succeed or fail, he's going to at least be making the attempt. He's not going to give you status quo. That's the last thing that I'm interested in. I don't really consider my toys, for the most part, to be toys in the truest sense, toys that you could play with. And we've tried some of those. If you look at some of the product we did early on, we had them. I would say that probably the most play we have in our toys right now is if we have a push button that has a sound chip or something like that. And the reason I say that, because I believe that there should only be one, what I call my A position. And the A position is the pose that I want. So I've always termed these things as sort of plastic statues. In comic books, what you have to do is you have to pick isolated moments, and you have to freeze frame, because there's no motion like in a movie. So everything is dynamic. So if I'm going to do Spider-Man, get him in a dynamic pose. If I'm going to do Spawn, get him in a big thing with the cape billowing. And you want it to all be very melodramatic. Well, all that staging, once you get into toys, is the exact same. That you go, okay, I can either do an alien, or I can do an alien, you know, or I can have a predator. It looks like he's got a big axe and he's just about ready to drop it on you. What I want is to, in my mind, have taken a snapshot of each one of those, or taken a frame out of a movie, and then I want to extrapolate that one frame so that you've sort of seen that, which is why I don't really want kids to play with it, because that's the pose I want you to look at. I don't want you to mess around with the pose. I picked that pose specifically. And so for each one of the toys here, we actually have a reason for giving them the body English that we do. I've got a system where no one person starts and finishes any of my toys. Traditionally in toys, they do a drawing, they hire one person, they hand that person that toy, and they say, come back. To me, it's the equivalent to saying, like in a movie, that you can hire one person to write, produce, direct, star, and edit your whole movie. They may be skilled in 2 or 3 of those, but across the board, I doubt it. And I believe that sort of sculpting and making sort of art is the same way, that the whole is better than the parts, at least with the toys that we make. So I have a collaborative team effort, much like you see on TV and you see in movies. You see that credit roll? It's not nearly as extensive, obviously, but I have people who are great at monsters. I have people who are great at hair. I have people that are great at women's faces but not good at hair. I have people that are great at men's bodies but can't do monsters. I have people that are great at wrinkles but can't do faces. And so by the time I line up who all these people are, depending on what the figure is, if it's Conan, I need a good looking guy with lots of artillery, with some design and some flowing hair. So who are those 5 guys? You know, we're over, if I'm doing basketball, I need somebody that can do a realistic face, that can actually do some dynamic and some torque and lots of wrinkles, because we're gonna have their baggy pants flipping all over the place. And so I gathered the group that will actually do that, and there's a collective 4 to 7 people that touch every one of those figures. I believe too that most toy companies, the guy leading the charge at the toy companies, the CEO, if you will, the head managing director, whatever you want to call them, is not one of the best, if not the best artist in the group. And that's where I come in. That not only am I the CEO, but buddy, I'm the artist. So you ain't sneaking nothing by me. My R&D department, research and development's in New Jersey, and I'm here in Phoenix. It may seem like a hindrance, not really, because we have a video conference machine that we can, not only do I have it linked up with my company in New Jersey, but also with the work we're doing out in China and Hong Kong. And it's just like being there. I mean, I've probably been to my New Jersey office 3-4 times in 10 years. But through technology, I've been there 1,000 times, because you can turn it on anytime you want. I can get them to show me what they're sculpting. They can do a zoom on it. I can get a 360. I can move the camera anywhere I want. And you can get on a 70-inch screen TV, you can get my fingernail can fill that 70-inch screen TV. That's how good the technology is. The only thing is a little bit down is the color is not quite accurate. So if there's subtleties to color, I have to let somebody on the other end make some of the calls for me. If they're in Japan, or excuse me, in China, and they're saying, you know, we've made an alteration on the blue, then I go, does it match the blue I sent you? And if they say yes, then I have to accept it, because I can't quite make that match there. If you catch me at the right time, you actually walk into the room and I'm doing poses. I mean, I'm in front of the camera going, the monster has to have a shoulder like this, and the baseball player, and you know, you're not getting enough torque, and look at the wrinkles here, and I'll be standing, give me a chair, I got to do this pitcher's pose, or whatever it is. Even, like I said, even with monsters, I'll hunch over. I don't know why I get so much credit for doing it right. The question shouldn't be, Todd, how do you get it right? The question should be, why did they get it wrong so often? Most CEOs of toy companies just go, how much money can we make off it? What's the cost? How do we take paint away so we can save money? How do we put less articulation and movement so we can save? How can we make it smaller so we can save money? Where I do the opposite. I go make the best toy possible, and then we're done, then price it. Why? Because I believe that people will buy a product that has value. Because I am not a publicly held company. If we don't maximize every single penny with every single toy, the only person really at the end of the day it hurts is me. And if I'm okay with that, fine. Paint it up, put some more warts, give it a bigger body, like, fine. Todd, you're gonna only make half the profits on it, fine. I've actually had toys where we've actually lost money intentionally, because I just thought it'd be a cool toy to make, and you know what, we put out so many toys, I'll make up for it someplace else. But it's good advertising if you give people a big plastic toy this big for next to nothing. And the other part is actually keeping the price down. I like to keep, I mean, we do the odd box set, but I like to keep the average toy under $10 as much as possible. To me, at the beginning, it was I just want to make a better mousetrap. And I looked at a lot of the toy product out there. I had actually most of the big toy manufacturers make an offer for Spawn. And I went, no, you know what, I don't think they're going to get it. I don't think they're going to make it the right way. I don't think they're going to sell it the right way, and they're not going to brand it the right way. And so in a couple years, they're going to hand me back damaged goods that they couldn't sell, because they were going to put the product next to Barney and Disney stuff and go, you know, the moms didn't really want it. And I'm like, no, that's not what I did. I was like, you got to get out to like the record stores and the clothing stores and wherever the dudes are, you got to go to them, even if it's the computer stores or, You know, they play a lot of video games. They get to the video game stores, and traditionally they don't have toys. And it was an uphill battle to get people to, those retailers, to start buying the toys. But once they did, it opened their eyes and went, wow, people will actually buy product that's sort of a sidestep of what we already have in our store. I actually gave them guaranteed sales. You go and put it out there. If it doesn't sell, you get all your money back. And they all came back with like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. You know, you put the Alien stuff next to the Alien games and the Alien t-shirt and the Alien stuff, and the Alien fans buy, yeah, well, no duh, no duh. It's, what the hardest part was going to the stores and they just didn't know where to rack it. They didn't have toy rack space. That was really the big one. They couldn't articulate it. That was the one that they went, where do we put toys? We don't have toys. You know, well, here, I'll build you little stands then. You know, whatever it takes, we'll get it there. And eventually we turned in, like I said, into very big accounts for these stores. Can I sell toys to 10-year-olds? Yes. Do I choose to? No. Can I sell them to 25-year-olds? Absolutely. Am I doing it? Yeah. What's more bizarre is when the people who are like under 10, and more specifically 55 years old and female, sort of go, I don't get it. Why would you sell those toys and trying to get them to kids? And it's like, I'm not trying to sell it to kids, and I'm sure as heck not trying to sell it to you. So I've always been amazed that when the demographic I'm not aiming for gets upset because they don't get it. You know, they're going, I'm a 55-year-old conservative bingo-going mother, and you know what? I don't get those monsters. I find them quite grisly, may I say. And I don't even know why my children would want one of them. Now, the answer is, well, your 22-year-old boy, he wants that toy. Not only does he want that toy, he needs you to have that reaction. And the reason he needs you to have that reaction, because what 22-year-old son wants to have a figure of a monster that his 50-year-old mother digs. I've just been fortunate enough, like a lot of filmmakers, not to be able to actually spend most of my waking day doing the things that I'd be doing anyways. Dealing with music and video games and TV and comic books and toy. I mean, it's all the stuff that we'd be doing anyway, sports and those kinds of things. And really, it's sort of funny that, and I find this to be true, I sleep like a baby at the end of the night. And the reason I believe that to be true, not to psychoanalyze, is because all of that pent-up stuff that we have in our brain, all that imagination, which we all have, I get to pour it out all day long, put it on paper, clay it, do something with it. So at the end of the day, I'm like devoid of it to some extent, because I got to actually refill it up the next morning. Where my wife, she's a good woman, and she doesn't draw any or create any of the crazy stuff that I do. She's always having a nightmare where somebody in her family's trying to kill her, or the next door neighbor's trying to run her over, or a dinosaur, or a bear's trying to kill her, or she went over a cliff with the kids in the car, something happened to the dog's head, and I'm like, wow. Like, so all of that stuff where people go, oh, I don't know where it comes from, it's there. We've all got it.